This is my ranking of games like Medieval Dynasty that I've played, based purely on my personal experience. Each one is placed from masterpiece to trash depending on how immersive the medieval survival and building feels and how engaging the progression is. Let's get straight into the list. Conan Exiles puts me in the exiled lands as a prisoner trying to survive, gather resources, and eventually remove the bracelet locked around my wrist. I began with almost nothing, searching for food, water, and shelter while dealing with harsh weather, dangerous creatures, and constant threats of death. As I leveled up, I unlocked new crafting recipes, built larger bases, forged stronger weapons, and explored new regions for rare materials. The game also let me capture thralls and animals, turning them into workers, guards, or companions for long journeys. Most of my time was spent planning expeditions, expanding my settlement, and preparing for tougher enemies and world events. Despite its rough learning curve and limited story direction, I spent many hours building and surviving. This finds its place in my good tier. Farmer's Dynasty begins with me inheriting a neglected rural property and working to restore it into a productive farm. I spent my time repairing damaged buildings, replacing broken sections, and bringing old structures back into usable condition with various tools. After getting the farm running, I planted crops, used tractors and farming equipment, sold harvests, and earned money to unlock further improvements. Beyond farming, I could explore the surrounding countryside, interact with townspeople, take on small jobs, and build relationships through conversations and tasks. Expanding the farm, managing resources, and upgrading equipment created a clear sense of progress as I played. Although some activities became repetitive, and certain parts felt rough around the edges, the mix of farming, repairs, and open-world exploration kept me interested. This finds its place in my good tier. Vampire's Bloodlord Rising casts me as Dragos, a newly awakened vampire lord trying to rebuild my power in a land controlled by the Inquisition. I explored a large open world, hunted for blood, gathered resources, and expanded my influence while restoring a ruined castle. Progress was tied to a castle core that unlocked new abilities, crafting options, and regions as I fed it blood. I also recruited villagers as thralls, assigning them different jobs to help run my growing domain. Combat mixed melee attacks, blood magic, and shape-shifting forms that changed how I approached battles and exploration. Between managing servants, constructing castle rooms, crafting equipment, and making choices that affected how people reacted to me, there was always something important to work toward. It deserves to be in my masterpiece tier. Sengoku Dynasty puts me in charge of rebuilding a forgotten settlement in feudal Japan, turning a small camp into a growing village through careful planning and management. I gathered resources, hunted for food, crafted tools, and constructed homes, workshops, farms, and storage buildings while expanding my community. As new refugees arrived, I assigned them jobs, managed production chains, and kept the village running through changing seasons. The game also included combat against bandits and wild animals, with stronger weapons and samurai swords becoming available as I progressed. Beyond survival and management, I enjoyed designing the layout of my settlement and adding traditional Japanese structures and decorations. While some systems could have used more depth, the mix of village building, exploration, and progression kept me busy for many hours. I'm placing it in the good tier. Noble Legacy starts with inheriting Greenwood, a struggling medieval settlement filled with ruined buildings, empty farmland, and villagers trying to survive difficult conditions. I gathered wood, stone, and food while repairing structures and expanding the village through new homes, workshops, and production buildings. Managing resources became a major part of the experience as raw materials were transformed into tools, furniture, and supplies needed to keep the settlement growing. Villagers had different skills, needs, and ambitions, so assigning jobs and maintaining morale played an important role in productivity. I could walk through the settlement in third person, interact with residents, handle events, and take a direct role in construction rather than managing everything from a distant view. The mix of city building, progression, and village management places this game in my excellent tier. Chinese Frontiers follows a small community trying to survive and expand in a remote region, with every building project requiring hands-on work from me. I gathered wood, stone, clay, and food while completing nearly every task by hand, from carrying materials to placing building pieces and expanding village structures. Survival played an important role as I worked to keep the settlement supplied and functioning through daily routines. The story gradually unfolded through interactions with characters like June and May, whose conversations and missions added context to the world around me. Exploration led me through mountains, forests, rivers, and open landscapes while I searched for resources needed for new projects. Although the pace could be slow and some technical issues appeared during my time with it, the building systems and atmosphere kept me engaged. This secures a place in my great tier. Viking Frontiers revolves around rebuilding a Norse settlement after a disaster, with me gathering resources, crafting tools, and turning a small camp into a functioning village. I spent much of my time cutting trees, hunting, farming, and managing production chains that transformed raw materials into useful goods for expansion. New buildings unlocked additional crafting options, workers, and economic systems, making long-term planning an important part of progression. The game also included survival mechanics, settlement management, trading, and quests connected to Norse mythology through rituals and divine favor. While I enjoyed developing the village and balancing resources, technical problems, unreliable AI, and awkward menus regularly interrupted the experience. Even with those issues, I found enough depth in its building and economy systems to keep playing and experimenting with different settlement layouts and production strategies. It goes into the good tier. Wild West Dynasty revolves around building a new life on the American frontier while developing a settlement through resource gathering, crafting, construction, and community growth. I collected materials, crafted tools, managed supplies, and expanded my homestead by constructing new buildings and improving the surrounding area. The game also included quests, character progression, exploration, and survival elements as I worked toward creating a thriving settlement in a harsh environment. Inventory management and crafting were easy to understand, making it simple to gather resources and begin expanding. However, much of my time was affected by technical problems, including performance issues, broken quests, visual glitches, and limited interaction with many characters. While I could see the foundation of an enjoyable settlement building experience beneath the problems, the lack of polish often got in the way. This one settles into my mediocre tier. Survive, the fall begins after a meteor strike devastates civilization, leaving small groups of survivors struggling to rebuild in a dangerous and unpredictable world. I explored ruined locations, searched for resources, recovered valuable supplies, and uncovered new areas by obtaining tools that opened previously blocked paths. Missions allowed me to control a team of survivors, using stealth, combat, and tactical planning to deal with hostile creatures and other threats. Back at the settlement, I assigned jobs, managed food supplies, monitored health and fatigue, and expanded the community with new buildings, crafting stations, and research projects. Each survivor had different skills that influenced how effectively they performed tasks, both in the field and at base. The combination of exploration, survival systems, settlement management, and progression kept me engaged throughout. This finds its home in my good tier. That's it for this ranking. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.